of the Fresh Waterways Advisory Board to order. And the first thing we'll do is roll call. Connie Clifford.
Robert Doring.
Grant Schaefer.
And then Susan Blair, thank you. And then before we proceed, I need a motion to excuse our chair, Barbara Hayford's absence. She is speaking at a convention in Oregon. So I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we excuse Barbara.
I second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Thank you. And then the next thing on the agenda is approving the agenda itself. So I would love a motion to approve the agenda.
I motion to approve the agenda.
I second it.
All right. Anyone opposed? Okay, agenda's approved. And then we need to approve the minutes first for the September 18th meeting, and then after a motion, we can have a discussion if there are any corrections or changes. Do I hear a motion to approve the September 18th minutes?
I move that we approve the September 18th minutes.
Second it.
Thank you. So Sarah's first name is spelled incorrectly in both the minutes, so with that minor correction, I'm comfortable. Did anybody else have any corrections or changes to the minutes? No? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Approved, okay. And then now we're approving the minutes of the October 2nd meeting, same correction to be made, so.
I move that we approve with the
Second.
correction.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. And then anybody opposed? Perfect, all right. So the next thing on the agenda is the Fresh Waterways Corporation report. And are you making that? I heard something about Bruce not being here.
Bruce is in Texas.
Okay,
He's on his way to Florida. Last I heard, he was crawling under his RV to fix something.
okay,
And we're in the process of doing a membership drive. And we're looking at maybe in the spring having a information meeting. And and he wanted me to say that there's water going over the spillway. And that's about all we have right now.
okay, thank you. And next is public communication. And I'll tell you, you don't have to do this, but some of the newer board members were talking before the meeting, and it would be great if you'd give us your first and last name, and you have 3 minutes for your report. I do not have a list of that, so Sarah maybe does. Or do people just speak? Yep. Okay. Who would like to speak? No one? No public communication?
Okay, then we ask for online.
No.
Then
Oh,
we'll go to online.
yeah, I forget that. Anybody online would like to make comment?
Yes,
Right, Dawn?
yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm just wondering if anybody knows, they could comment, what's happening on the Oyet ditch? Was it completed within the time frame of October 31st up to the bridge? I don't think it really was, but it has not been, but maybe someone knows about that, and I'll just listen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, it's Vita. I don't have a comment. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with no one else, we'll move to our next agenda item under new business, which is the discussion of the Southern Shoreline Erosion Assessment. I did speak to Barbara last Friday. She requested that this go on, and she said basically she wanted us, just as the Waterways Advisory Board, just to be aware of its existence. So I was going to ask for 2 things. I was going to see if our city council liaison had anything that he would like to say from the council standpoint.
Just that it's in process, and we're looking at, potentially what could happen this winter. So setting some money aside if we have to do any emergency situations. But I do know that the city is heavily involved in contacting both federal, state, and everybody is aware of this at the state level. I know Congressman, Eric Kilmer is aware of this, Patty Murray is aware of this, they are all aware of this, and they are all understand it's a very critical issue.
All right, thank you. Does anybody on the board have any questions or
I've got a
comments?
question. We sent about $500,000 up to the city of the county for the park. Do we get anything back from that?
I would have to defer to staff or
We're
Councilman Kroll.
we're all part of the waterways that to keep the, you know, the port, but the port does help us a lot. They were hugely instrumental in getting the jetty pushed through, and they're actually the ones that have to kind of manage it. They don't, you know, so we do get something from them, yes, as far as like as much as we could. No, that would be nice, but
So is there a movement to raise the jetty and?
it's already in process. The next 2 years, they're gonna, trucks are gonna start coming next year. It's
Okay.
already done. It's in motion. We've already signed the access ways so they can start piling the rock, and you'll start seeing them coming down, I think, early next year.
And that's all Corps of Army engineer, right?
Yeah,
That's all
yeah,
Corps of Army
that's nothing
engineer.
on the city. Army Corps is managing the whole thing. But the port is the one everything goes through.
Is there any movement to get our little harbor open?
Wouldn't that be nice? Well, on that one.
Does
That'd be nice.
anybody else have any questions or comments about the shoreline erosion assessment?
Yeah, I'm here
Um,
from. So this is Chris, this is, she's
I
our
thought I
city planner,
recognized you.
yeah.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah, so
Chris.
Russell just had me come in and sit in on it, but basically we're still working with Mott McDonald. And we're still gathering more data on the project, but we're trying to figure out the options for what's going to happen, like you mentioned. So
Okay,
it's still kind of in a standstill, so.
all right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So is our role just to be informed, or we're supposed to get feedback, or do we get to say, wait a minute, I've got some questions?
Yes,
Is it just holding up?
yeah. Do you have any questions or would like to give some feedback on the erosion assessment?
Well, I mean, the first, I've only had a chance to read this one thing, and I'm learning today that there's a lot here, and you're dealing with, you know, our senators and stuff. I just need to find out more, because there's a lot of questions on this, just as the first read, because you've got basically two options, one to burn. The other is, a beach breaker, and then, you know, there's a cost difference, obviously, but in the report, it really didn't go into much detail or design or anything. I don't know what the beach breaker really does, because there's ongoing maintenance. And then there's something in there which kind of, I didn't really know about it. It says somewhere in there that because there's a sediment deficit coming out of the Columbia River, that's the big cause. And like, okay, that's over my skills. So because we don't get enough sand coming out of the Columbia River, you know, we're not, that's the reason why Hut Bay is losing sand.
Well, I mean, the city, you know, had the erosion study done, and that's, the erosion study is the study. Now, based on the study, what are the options? And that's what the city's working. We haven't gotten to that point yet, other than they said, here's these options that you can look at, but now each one of those options have to be
Yeah,
studied a lot deeper. You know, this was just like a high level overview of, here's what we, you know, over the years, here's what we think has happened, here's what we think is going on. I mean, the jetty has been a part of Ocean Shores since it started in 1913, so it changed Ocean Shores and it still is. So what's the solution?
Oh, okay, so it's not vetted yet, it's just out for discussion.
Yeah,
yeah, we've only had one public meeting with the council a few months back that delivered like the study from Mott McDonald and what some of the options were, what's actually occurred over the 30-year span, why we're in the, why it's happening today. And when you mention the soil, that's basically what we're talking about. You know that they're not dredging any longer. They haven't been for a number of years now, but the current still keeps going. So that still pulls sediment from the under part of the toe of the ocean. And it starts filling up those waterways and the beach area. And then some of it starts eroding. And we walk it probably at least 2 times a week right now. Just taking photographs, like an event like this, once it's raining and we have large storms with big wave surge, we're out there taking photographs just to see how much change is happening on there. And I'll tell you, those berms are getting higher and higher. Some of it's piling back up, like over at Damon's Point, you can see where it broke off and now the sand is alluded back up to the front part of it. So it's just gonna be an ongoing thing until we figure out, like you said, the money costs, who's gonna be responsible for that, how that's all gonna be delivered to the public and the city.
I understand, so, I mean, if you read the report, it's like, it's obvious, or it's very urgent, I mean, in a wonderful case scenario, it'd be a couple of years, in a horrible situation, could be one, you know.
It
I
could
don't
be
want it to
January.
be, yeah, it gets to the end of great,
Yeah.
and if we really got lucky, it's 10 years, but, and then all bets are off.
Well, and the city was hyper focused on the jetty and the ocean side because in 2014, it almost breached into the city. And at that point, the Army Corps came in and built it up because it was an emergency situation. So they were able through the city funded, I think it was about $80,000, $75,000, $80,000 to put the big sandbags in. Those were put in, and most of that erosion is caused by the jetty. And it's been 10 years that the city has been working with the state, the federal court to get the jetty done. They finally got it done, you know, last year, and it's a $9.5 million thing. So, you know, hopefully this isn't the same thing, but if there's any emergency situation, you know, the Army Corps is not gonna let it breach, you know, so, but it's gonna take a long time. And, you know, that's why we were hyper focused out there, because that was pretty critical. And now we're here at this situation, and this, you know, study, everybody knew what was kind of going on, but not to the extent until the study came out.
So, I mean, you don't have much time then between, I guess, your next couple of meetings and really having to, get shovel, remember that old term, shovel ready?
Oh, yeah, that's not gonna happen.
But that's where the city's actively working on it. So like on Thursday, Marshall and I spent all day, because you have the shoreline master program, and then you also have our critical area regulations. And if you look at like the emergency proclamations that the mayor can do to kind of like say, kick out the permits, we're gonna go in and do this. You have shoreline master program that fights with the critical area regulation. So right now, we're working diligently and they set aside money so that we can actually at least go do the emergent sections that are really causing havoc right now. So it's not like we have to get going, but like the emergent ones are full force, because we're trying to work on permits at the same time. If something does happen in January, what can we do right this second and not get in trouble? Because the Army Corps of Engineers doesn't talk to the Department of Ecology, and none of them really care what some of us say. So it's
Yeah.
like trying to figure that out. And that
There's
was
a
a
lot of stakeholders
Yeah.
involved with that.
4-hour meeting.
He's involved.
Because, I mean, the fresh waterways are stunning, and obviously that's why I joined, and if God forbid this breaches,
Mhm.
yeah. I'll be climbing up in, John Park. Okay, so we're just being informed, so that's a whole different group of people that makes a decision and gets to geek out on this stuff.
At this particular thing, yes, the chair put it on the agenda because she just wanted us to be aware, to make sure that we were all aware as a board. Because it could greatly impact, as you just acknowledged,
I don't want
the fresh waterways, not to mention all the other,
The South Park, let's leave it.
Yeah.
Leave it at that.
yeah. So,
Thank you.
is there anything else from the board on the shoreline erosion assessment? If not, we'll move into our next thing, which is the, Ocean Shores Lake and Watershed Master Plan, our request for qualifications. And
Yeah.
Becky will take that.
So I brought this up last time and we talked about it a little bit, and then this went out with the agenda. Did everybody get a chance to look at it? Does anybody have questions about it? What I found after I went back was Robert, before he left the city, had written this up and he had sent it to Steve Borba, the old chair of the Fresh Waterways Board, and Ann Reese from Rock Project Management, and they were going to meet and discuss this. And it was going to go out, and I found the emails back and forth between the two of them. They were never able to meet. So Eric and I back and forth a little bit. We feel like it's ready to go out. I wanted the board to get it with the agenda so that you had time to look over it. Give me any feedback that you have. Let me know what you think. I have, 2 vendors that I definitely want to send it to, and then it will also go out to the SJC, which is, I haven't been feeling well, so my brain is, I have like this huge brain fog, but the SJC is where we advertise a lot of RFQs and bids, and then contractors go on it from all over the state, or even Oregon, like they'll go on it. So it's a mass broadcast of bids and RFQs and RFPs, and lots of people will see this. And then we'll also put it in the Daily World as well. So that's where it will go out. And if anybody has anybody specific as well that's qualified for this, that you're interested in it being sent to, let me know, and we will specifically send it to their email as well. So
Becky, do you need this approved?
I do not need it approved by the
Okay.
Fresh Waterways Board.
Okay,
I just want your feedback on it,
Okay.
to know your thoughts and, you know, kind of, if there's something else that you think should be added, if you think that there's something that's missing.
And new person actually.
Absolutely.
I just don't want to tie it, it's a new guy. All right, so I wanna understand and make sure I understand the difference. I read a lot of that. Is that just like a targeted aquatic management program because it's just such a burning issue now? Or because to me, it sounds like that I don't know if I'm misinterpreting, that there's this big comprehensive cool thing out there that we're not at yet, you know, it's how to bring in people, fishing tournaments, you know, tourism and, you know, a nice lifestyle, but it seems like this is such a big issue, because I live across from Duck Lake, and it's just like, okay, in the summer it was kind of, you knew it wasn't the right color green.
Yeah.
Now it hasn't been the right color brown for a while.
This is,
So is this just to take care of that one, but it's not the big 360-degree picture that
this
we're
is
trying
the big
This is-
picture master plan to take care of all of our waterways.
Well, see what I'm saying here, there's a difference, it's, in other words, it sounds like it's more targeted to just take care of, you know, what's going on in the water, there's no in there fishing wildlife, you know, there's no tourism in there, you know, there's not that kind of plan, or is that just not a realistic expectation?
I don't know that it's not, I can write it down and take it.
I mean, the intent was, because when the council passed this, at the last budget thing, it was a priority on our thing, it was supposed to be a comprehensive overview, but beginning at, you know, I mean, basically, the fresh waterways were swamped, they're trying to go back to a swamp, they dug it, they did that whole thing, and they haven't done anything since then, you know, except replace the weir, which they did the wrong weir, so there's the foundational issues of where's the waterways now? Where does it need to get to, and once it gets there, how do we get there, and then what should it be?
I'm wondering, is it just for me to keep my thinking back for a year to see like a year from now, is it, you know, is the water quality where it should be, are we getting clear, you know, and then we can build on top of it.
Well, this, as soon as somebody's chosen for this project, they are gonna be heavily involved with
With you
all of the
guys,
fresh
they'll be
waterways,
here.
and because they're gonna come in and not know it, so they're gonna have to hear it from you and especially the corporation who has the history to it and what they've gone through and what their experience has been, and then it's you with, and then they're gonna be citizen, and so it's gonna be it's gonna probably take at least a year and a half
Oh,
to
yeah.
go through this whole thing at least. So it's gonna, and hopefully at the end, we'll have a master plan for the fresh waterways that also dovetails with the stormwater master plan, because they're both intertwined. I think they're kind of the same, but not really.
There's a budget for this of $165,000, just to put into perspective of what a big project it is for this to be written. It's all encompassing, yeah, so,
It's
a
a big,
process to get, yeah.
it's a big,
So it should
Yeah.
give us about a year and a half, and also we can put the best long-term strategy together.
That's the whole point.
Yeah, let's just get to the green
Yeah.
and brown now.
well, I mean, that's gonna be part of it, you know, but again, it's a sport, but what is it to take care of that? You know, I mean, there's so many issues, because, you know, it doesn't need to be dredged, but there's mud minnow, can be dredged, it can be, I mean, you know, it's fish and wildlife, it's ecology, it's everybody, and they're the ones, you know.
we'll use it to get grants
Yeah,
too.
and then once you have the freshwater master plan, there's no way city has enough money to do what's gonna need to be done, but without a master plan, you can't go after grants. With a master plan, you can go after grants. And so that's also a huge part of it, is to say, here, we have this plan we wanna do now, and then there's climate change money, there's all sorts of things out there. That they can use to now, you know, I mean, it's millions of dollars, we don't have that.
Let me ask you a side question on this then. I was looking online at all the documents, and I love the fact that the city really has a, you know, public disclosure, that's the right term, especially the mayor, the mayor is a big believer in this, it's open access to all of the information, but I look on the site. I don't know what's not on the site for this thing, but I don't see in this committee, are there other committees? In other words, is a strategic committee, or, you know, especially what, this kind of stuff, to, you know, a bunch of people to sit and think this out and go, and then throw it back into the big picture. Or any of those committees exist?
Well, we have to go, that's what the RFQ is for,
No, I mean.
to find the contractor.
Oh, you like the part, like, there's.
Like us, it's like, you would be on the one,
Yeah.
you know, we're on the Fish and Wildlife Committee, or no, these people are on the steering committee. There was a very intelligent discussion, I was online last, I think it was the last meeting where somebody, you know, the trees are down, and it's, you know, the integrity of the shoreline, those kind of things, and maybe a tourism committee to, when are we stocking the fish, when are we gonna get the kids out there and have all the happy, the pins and grins photos and stuff. I mean, I was wondering if there was committee, not.
Not at the time. No, you guys wanna start one, go for it.
Well, because those things sound like they would kind of be subcommittees of this freshwater
Mhm.
board. And the other boards do kind of, they'll split off and assign subcommittees of, you can do that, you could say, okay,
Yeah.
let's you and I do a tourism set.
Yeah, and involve
subcommittee.
citizens and do,
Yeah, oh, yeah,
It's an ad hoc.
exactly, and those are all things that you guys will come up with as a group as you continue to move forward as this board. So it's a perfect time for you to bring it up at your first meeting.
Yeah, I was just curious.
No, that's awesome.
I'll bring it up again.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Thank you, Saul. So back to the RFQ, is there anybody else who has anything to ask or?
I do to Becky, what do you
Yeah. think
the timeline before we get anybody to respond to this?
So what I'll do, is it'll go out. This calendar. I would like to be able to send it out by the end of next week and have it, that's the 17th is Friday, so have it back by Christmas, December 22nd, so I'm gonna say Christmas, we'll have it due by December 22nd. And then what we will do with the board is there's an evaluation sheet that's pretty standard, and we'll all evaluate. And then I'll take all the evaluation forms and average together, and so that there's one form, and then the highest company I will work with, and we'll negotiate on the price for them to do this work. And if we don't like the price and the negotiations and the way it goes, then we go to the second highest person that was ranked. And so that's how that works with the RFQ process. But I would say that we would be able to get started shortly into the new year. By the end of January, we should be able to get through negotiations and everything, even with the holidays.
Yeah,
So
because,
maybe mid-February, I might be over-promising a little bit.
because like what Bruce is saying is when he goes out and he's having clearance problems now in some of these canals. We really do need to look at this before, like Eric says, we end up with some swamp out there.
Exactly.
And we can't do anything because we allowed them to put fish in there, and now the states are best friends. Even though there are canals.
Yeah.
Should have done all this 20 years ago.
Yeah, probably would have been.
Yeah.
Well, what's the one that we originally got was just completely Xed out. There really wasn't any, remember the
The
first week?
IABMP?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
IABMP, and that will be included in this master plan. That'll be a part
That's
of it.
part of it, but it's a
Right.
very small part of it.
Yeah, cause that thing was just like pretty much gutted,
Mhm.
cross.
Yeah. And, the city has to have the IABMP is required in order to get the permits to do the spraying and stuff, so
Okay.
that was
That's
the
what that
main,
one's
that was the
for.
main point of that.
Oh, okay.
IABMP was without that, you cannot get permits for spraying and take care of the weeds.
Okay.
All right, we can move on to good of the order now, if anyone would like to say anything for 3 minutes.
I'd like to, how are we doing? Bruce was looking into something, and I'm gonna have to skip for a second to regain my thought on that real quick.
All right. Connie, anything?
No.
Oh,
No? How about you, Saul? Anything else?
Is
Good of the
there,
order?
somebody brought it up a meeting or two ago, is there a timeline or a list that I can look at, or we can all look at of when the state's coming in to stock what? Cause they do their own stocking, I'm like, okay, great, what are they stocking and when? Which is, firstly, it's good to know that, but then it's also good to know if we're gonna be having vendors come in and do some work, you know, should they be looking at that? And of course, then there's always the fun thing, it's like, you know, if they're stocking X amount of trout, well, let's show the kids and the families know that to go out there and go have fun and take pictures and you know, all that good, kind of good stuff.
I think Marshall could get that information.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'm back on target now.
All right.
It's to you, hopefully, is how are we doing on getting vendors for these trees that are falling and are hazards?
We have no luck getting anybody to take them out anymore.
Can you do a RFD or whatever they call on that?
What Marshall had said a meeting or two ago is that he needs to have the requests done online.
For,
He talked about how to do that, so,
okay,
yeah.
so we need to, because, you know, those trees are falling and Marshall said we had money to do it, we just don't have anybody to take it.
Yeah, he still hasn't seen the request online, he told me last week.
Okay, now who does the request online?
Whoever sees the tree down,
Oh,
Either the
okay.
property owner, anybody like that.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. All right, so when he gets back, or maybe I'll email him and see.
Okay.
But yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we were keeping track of
Yeah.
that. Because it's gonna get windy and with our luck, we'll
It
get
is.
another ice storm.
yeah, yeah.
It took out a lot of the older trees a couple years ago. But anyway, that's all I wanted to do was make sure that we were still moving on that one.
May I ask a question on what you both just said? So if I'm understanding this right, it's more of an education or people have to be aware of this, so they have, if there's a tree that goes down or something, if there's a bank integrity question, they have to fill out a form so something can happen. I don't know if people know this. Or how
Yeah,
do you do
it would
that?
be, put it on the front page, especially going into the storm season, so that'd be a good idea. We could move it to the front page and put some social media out there so that people know, and then the court can put it on their
They don't
Facebook
know, they
page,
don't know.
yeah.
Yeah,
No,
because
that's great.
Marshall didn't know. He didn't even know that we really had any issues until Bruce let him know that we had some bad ones out there right now.
And then if I can, for the good of the order, speak to Dom's, question about the White Hut ditch. There is still work happening at the White Hut ditch. The October 31st deadline is the fish window that is passed, because we're now into November. And that work is any work that is below the ordinary high water line. And I spoke with Rollins, that work is, they said all work under the ordinary high water line is complete, and everything they're doing now is above that ordinary high water line, the OHL, so we are good to go with what work they are doing. They have confirmed, so thank you for asking that question. Now, the water is flowing really good through there too. I drove through the side streets, we did the zigzag this weekend, and the water is flowing really good through there. We've had a lot of rain, it's still really high. But they still have stuff that they cut down on the sides to pull up. If you've driven down 109 and looked, it's just very wide through there. But it's slow and it's moving, so that's good. I'm happy with the way it is flowing.
Goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Can I go back to the where for just a minute? Where is their information on this? I mean, I've heard now twice it's broke. So
It's not broken.
it's not broken.
It's not broken.
Okay.
It's the wrong type of weir for from what I understand, what I was told, and I was told by somebody else who had a lot of history of it, because it used to have a wooden weir. And it just rotted out, and then they went and replaced it with the concrete weir. Well, what that doesn't, well, it's so that you can't manipulate it at all. You can't raise it up or raise it down or open it to flush it out. It just goes over the top and that's it. So everything comes to the bottom, just stacks against it and then just builds up and builds up and builds up. You can't get rid of that.
Is this information anywhere that you don't know either?
I could send it to it's not online.
It's not.
No, but I can pull it
Yeah.
and send it to the fresh waterways.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Because one of my questions I have on that is, living on the water, if it keeps building up and building up and building up, am I gonna flood? I mean, there's a lot of people that live on.
No, the weir works for
It
flood.
still
So it goes
works.
to the top, it's getting it out of the bottom that it doesn't do.
Gotcha, okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, it just stacks up against it, but it goes over the top. I drive by it twice a day. It's flowing really well right now.
Okay.
I ask you, is there a gauge, or how do you know, it's great to hear that it's flowing well, but are there any gauges or any way to monitor it?
Yeah, you can go look at it.
Well, I mean, cause I spend a lot of time fishing rivers, so I'm always looking at the state of all of these gauges, okay, this river's too high, this
Yeah.
river's too low. Is there anything like that?
I don't
Gauges?
think we have that for the oil hut ditch right now, because it's never been cleaned out.
Are you talking about the ditch or the?
Oh, yeah.
You know, water coming
Yeah.
in, what
Yeah,
is
no,
it?
no.
You know, the
I mean,
ditch
it
and then
has
water
a-
outflow and then some other point in the middle that everybody thinks, you know, this would be a great little spot to give us another third data.
Well, I think again, with the fresh waterway master plan could help us with all that.
I think we would be setting some
Yeah,
new
yeah,
ordinary
yeah.
high water levels too, now that it's cleaned out, I think probably need to change, so.
But again,
yeah,
they
that's true.
dredged it, made it really nice and then never touched it again. So, and now we're at.
That's where we were.
All right. Oh,
I mean, not never touched again, but not didn't do too much with it.
Cause there, every August and September, we've got a algae problem because the lake is not flowing.
Right.
And there's been talk about temporarily raising the height of the spillway like 6 inches. And then come August or something like that,
Lower end.
removing it. So inducing a flow and flushing the canals with the algae and stuff. And even for like a few days or a week and then putting it back and then using that as a simple way to get rid of the algae. Because right now the algae just sits there in the canals,
Cause there's no.
lower part of the lake.
Yeah, from when it stops raining in June, July till the end of August,
Yeah.
there's no flow through there at all.
And you get lots of sun and heat and stagnant water, and then you get algae, you get the green algae, then pretty soon comes the blue algae.
That's a great
That's the
idea.
bad stuff.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And if you could induce a flow, but the water level's already so low, you can't flush it, there's nothing to flush with. But if you started it like in June and raised it about 6 inches or so, and then come late July or August, you took it out for like a day or several days and just flush the system and then put it back. And then come January or whatever, you just take it out. But is there been any talk about doing something like that?
First I heard about, great idea. That's a really good idea.
Wasn't it talked about, people, that live on the water, anywhere on the water, keeping motion going, like having, some sort of I'm not gonna think of the right word, some sort of water to keep it flowing all the time, by their docks or by their property, because it just
Just aerating the water.
just aerating a lot. And I think I talked to Bruce about this one time, or I
Yeah.
heard him talk about it one time.
Mhm.
Of course, it would mean, a lot of people being willing to do that, and I know a lot of people that live on the canal that would be very willing to do that.
There was talk at one time, it would be crazy expensive, and I don't know if they'd allow you to do it, but, I know, Nick Bird had talked about at one point taking the outflow of the sewer plant, because right now it just flows out into the bay, and piping it up to Boyd Hut Ditch, and then you would have flow all year round with it. Because it's fine water, it's going out, Boyd Hut, so it's not polluting any, it's actually a lot better than water that's in there now, but that would be crazy expensive,
Wow,
crazy, but in the summertime.
but it's a thought, I mean, it's
Yeah.
something to.
It's a way,
throw
it's
it-
about the only way you're gonna get water flowing through there in the summer, you can drop it, but it'll still keep dropping until it's, back where it is now. And you gotta be careful at how high it's going up, so you're not flooding anybody out.
Somebody had spoken about, I've read before I joined here, about a windmill. Doing some sort of pumping.
Out of the groundwater.
Yeah.
It's one great, that's what the master plan is all about.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, when whoever the subject matter expert is that comes and you guys are talking through these ideas, like that's exactly what.
Because that's what
This
they
is
wanna
going
hear,
to be,
is
that's- yeah, they want all these
different
ideas.
ideas, because they don't know, but,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if we could get that to pump around without costing us money, that's why I was kind of interested in the windmill one. It'd be a good tourist, thing, and also we could get, you know, some free pumping when it's windy.
Which we get plenty of that.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you. Some good discussion. And with nothing further, I will adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.